Right, okay guys, welcome to another magazine read through. This video I'm going to be taking a look at the Games Machine. This is issue number 8 and this was released in July 1988. Now when the 16-bit machines came along, you know, the Atari ST, Commodore Amiga, there was a change. There was a lot of new magazines came out. I mean, yeah, your Zaps and your Crashes. I don't think Crash ever featured any 16-bit machines. No, it didn't because it was a Spectrum. But yeah, Zap tried to it started to feature Amiga games, but people saw there was an opening in the market, and the market was flooded with new magazines. I mean, you had the One, you had Ace, ST format, and the Games Machine was another one. Unfortunately, I don't think it ran for too many issues, but if memory serves me right, I think it was actually pretty good. I'm sure Gary Penn, ex-Zap reviewer, was involved in this magazine. So yeah, what have we got here in the title screen? Well, you've got the baddie from R-Type. There's a feature about the PC Engine. Should bulletin boards be allowed? Engage Photon Drive, incredible new Amiga art utility, and there's a competition for Freescape. So anyway, let's dive it in, guys, and see if it is pants or not. Right, okay, kicking things off, we have a rather glorious double spread page of Alien Syndrome. I mean, that is going to be one of the most hideous looking baddies ever. Great game as well, really good. I really need to make a point of playing it more, but yeah, if you've never played it, you need to play it. It was one of the original sort of games that had really disgusting looking mutant-y things. There was that in Slaughterhouse, but yeah, that is definitely worth a play. Alien Syndrome. I think I did do an arcade perfect my arse in it. Who's that, my ace? Right, next we've got Eddie Edwards Ski, as endorsed by Eddie the Eagle Edwards, British Olympic ski jumper. Now, pardon me, I've actually literally just recently finished his autobiography. And you know, he was always painted as being a failure, a kind of a person of ridicule in the press. You know, he was the sort of most famous loser. He came last in the ski jump. But when you actually read about his story, he was a very brave guy. I mean, you know, some of the things that he tried, you know, he just got out there and he did things, and absolutely, I've got so much respect for the guy. It's all very well to say he came last, but he'd probably be better than 99% of other people that actually had a go. But he's a very brave guy, and he comes across as a really nice person. And the thing is, he had the last laugh, because after the Olympics, he was the guy that everybody wanted to see. He was the guy that made the money. I don't think he made a lot of money. I think he made quite a bit of money in a very short space of time. But like any sort of celebrity type thing, you know, his fame was short lived. But yeah, I've got a lot of respect for the guy, you know, absolutely awesome what he did. Never played the game. Released by Laura, I can never pronounce that, Laura CL. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So right, the Games Machine, issue 8, July 1988. So there, the CD-ROM revolution. 9 million words take up just a fifth of compact disc. It's funny that when I was reading about, you know, when the CD-ROM first came along, that was all you got, was pictures of like, this CD-ROM holds 700 floppy disks. Now CD-ROM is old hat, nobody has CDs anymore. And Pete the Midget Monster. PC Engine, that's a wonderful machine, that. Right, we'll not dwell too much on the contents. Let's just jump straight in. Always ahead of their time. What's that? Blood Brothers, Hercules, Slayer of the Damned by Gremlin. Don't think I've ever played these games. Skate crazy. Always the fashion of the 80s. It's awful. Pink Panther. No, I never. I think I saw Pink Panther. I don't think I ever actually played the game, but I don't remember. I remember seeing the advert for Pink Panther. Fractured light from a multicoloured past. Can historical fragments of the Prism Leisure Corporation combine again? Oh What's a football manager? One of the 5 main Commodore 64 playing screens in Hot Shot, a highly addictive game. What was that? I can't really read that. Is that Suck It To Me One Time? Yeah, okay. Star Ray, remember that game? That was... it's a good game, but it's got a few flaws. It came out in Amiga, and it's basically a really, really good Defender clone. But the one thing that annoys me about it is it's got all this fancy background, and to my mind, if you're playing a shoot 'em up, you don't want fancy backgrounds, because all it does is distract from the baddies. It distracts from the gameplay. So I would rather it had a plain background. I mean, I did a look at off Drop Zone recently, and there was a couple of versions. One was on the Game Boy Advance and one was on the SNES, and the background graphics in these two versions, again, it just distracted you, whereas the purer versions on the C64, Atari, even think there's the NES as well, you know, arcade games generally had black backgrounds, and I just think it makes them infinitely more playable. But it's worth checking out. What's it called? Star Ray, yeah. On the Atari ST, the graphics are practically the same as the coin-op version of Street Fighter from Capcom. That was one of the worst games ever, but we'll go into that shortly. What's that? Hawkeye, the new Hawkeye. Never played that again. It's a game that a lot of people rave about. Star Goose. Always remember thinking that looked amazing on the Amiga, but I think it turned out to be pretty rubbish. If I remember rightly, did I not use the mouse to control it? I think 1943. Never. You're funny enough. I loved 1942, and 1943 completely bypassed me. Never really knew the game until I got MAME actually. What's that? What was it? Black Tiger. Yeah, that's a game I've never really played either. Very, very reminiscent of Ghosts and Goblins. Mortville Manor, remember that one? It was a French adventure game with text and graphics, but what set it apart was it had speech, but it was like the old, it was obviously computer generated speech, and it was quite funny. There was the French version, then I think they released it in an English one as well. I don't know whether you could change the language. Keep your balls under control as you negotiate the park, hopping mad on the C64. Don't remember that one at all. What's this? Roll-em futuristic football from Vector Ball by Binary Design. That looks actually quite nice. Amstrad. What was that? What, Summer Olympiad? I remember. Yeah, I think that was at a company called Tynesoft. Tried to sort of rival Epix, and to be fair, for a little English software company, they were actually pretty good. Moving back along here, what's this? Walking the AT-AT is no fun for the Rebel Alliance in the Spectrum. I loved Star Wars on the home computers, but I never really got into Empire Strikes Back. Don't know, what is that? I can hardly see that. I've got to say that the quality of this magazine scan isn't the greatest. So if you're thinking it's blurred, it's because it is blurred. It's even blurred for me. With graphics taken directly from the Taito arcade machine, Operation Wolf is looking snaz. I wouldn't say they're quite as good as Arcade Machine, but certainly good game. Barbarian 2 was never a fan of that. I was always really, like a lot of people, I was quite disappointed with the sequel. I mean, the original was an amazing game, but I think they just, I don't know, they changed the game completely. They made it a sort of adventure. The baddies were just a bit naff. Games Machine reports PowerPlay new tough joysticks. I think I've got one of these. What's it called again? The Cruiser, that's the one, the Cruiser, yeah. It's alright, it still works. The fact it's still working some 30 years later, I suppose, is a testament. Peter Beardsley, International Football. Great player, him. Funny, when the 16-bit machines came out, there were so many football games. That was one of the first sort of genres to come out, and they were all this side on, and they all looked great, but they all played shit. They really were. I mean, they were no better really than international soccer in the Commodore 64, and that changed obviously when Sensible Software brought out Microprose Soccer, which was the sort of top down, and obviously Sensei Soccer, which to my mind is the best football game ever. And obviously Kickoff as well came along, that really revolutionised the football games, but until then this was the kind of crap you had. You had Paul Gascoigne football, you had Manchester United, there was different ones, but they were all the same, they all looked good, but they all just played rubbish. It was very much a case of graphics over gameplay. Midland Bank, Blue Jeans from Pepe, Pepperoni from Pizza Hut, Walkman from Sony, Live Cash from Midland. There we go, kids, this is what we used to use for our music on the go. Well, that one looks quite advanced for the one that I had. I had the original blue Walkman that you put your cassette into. I think I remember these little earphones as well. Yeah, what is this? Bulletin body. The passion for bulletin boards is hotting up, and its passion is running riot. But as Mel Crouchers uncovers the lush undergrowth of Tangled passion. Blah blah blah. I can't be arsed reading that. Yeah, bulletin boards were basically the internet of the day. There was no such thing as obviously YouTube and that kind of stuff. It was far more primitive, but yeah, it was kind of like what you would call a forum. You know, you basically posted messages, and some of the messages or some of the forums you could download files. I mean, I had one on the Commodore 64 called CompuNet. You basically dialed in. You had to unplug your mum and dad's phone, plug in the cable, and when you were on the internet, you basically, it wasn't the internet, when you were online, in fact you didn't even call it online, when you were connected to it, nobody could use the phone. I think if somebody picked the phone up, it would disconnect. So needless to say, when I pardon me, when I was using it, my mum and dad were none too pleased, because I was hogging the phone, and that was before mobile phones were existed, so if I was on the phone it meant that nobody could actually dial in. But yeah, they were all good fun. That's how a lot of the demo scene really kicked off. Coin Op, Confrontation, Bleeding Dry the Games Machine, Petty Cashbox, Robin Hog feeds Blackpool coin slots. See, that's when Blackpool was actually a nice place to go to for video games. I mean, Blackpool was probably the pinnacle of UK arcades. It was just an insane place. It was amazing. It was chock-a-block of arcade machines, arcades, wonderful place to go. So what is this? Battling through the ice asteroid zone in Vulcan Venture with lasers and bombs. I've heard of it, don't think I've ever actually played it. It looks like Konami. What's this one down here? Tato's beat 'em up may not look anything new, but it's fun and enjoyable. Kageki. Never played that one. Ah, there's Mr. Tom's. Very young looking Mr. Tom's. Look how skinny he looks. With his beard. I loved Football Manager. Absolutely loved it. One of my favourite C64 games. I did get Football Manager 2, but it never gelled with me quite as much as the original. Don't know why. Because I mean, yeah, what was it saying here? New improved features include spectacular graphics, tactics with unlimited action, more fun and excitement. Yeah, you actually got the full match, so you can see the guys running up and down, whereas obviously the original Football Manager was more just little highlights. Great game. Ocean, Games of Combat, fit only for heroes. What's that? Combat School, Platoon and Grisor. I don't think I've played Grisor. Is that the same game as Contra? I think it is. Is that not what it's called in the UK? I think it might have been actually. Maybe not. Nah, maybe not. Nah, possibly not. Combat School, never got to play the arcade one. I mean, I've played it on MAME. It's actually a really good game. I love track and field type games, so that is right up my street. Platoon, an amazing game, but I just found it too difficult. But really quite ahead of its time, wonderful graphics and really amazing music as well. That's when Ocean were really at the top of their game. Get your kicks on 16 bits, Rolling Thunder. wonderful arcade game home versions were all shit. Bionic Commandos, again, it's Bionic Commandos, the C64 version pisses all over the 16-bit ones. If you want to play that, if you've obviously you've got MAME now, you know, play MAME, but if you want to play a good home version, the C64 absolutely rocks. Shackled, don't remember that one. Impossible Mission 2, I was never a big fan of the original Impossible Mission, so I never really played the second one. Rip Up the Road in Battle Car Marauder, win your own battle car in games from Houston. Don't remember that one. Street Fighter, nothing stands in your way. Absolutely god awful game. The anecdote I have for Street Fighter was my mate and I, we couldn't afford to buy games. We couldn't afford to buy a game each. So what we used to do, once a month we would decide on a game to buy, but we would both chip in for it, but we would alternate it who would get to keep the game. And this month we decided to buy this because who wouldn't want to play this? It looks awesome. I mean, look at the graphics, wow. Getting to fight guys with knives and baseball bats, and it just looks incredible. So we bought it, and we got home from Edinburgh, and I told him to go and put the kettle on while I loaded it up. And by the time he came through with a cup of tea, I'd already completed the game, and I told him it was absolutely shit. And it's a diabolical game. So, you know, I've never known a sequel to eclipse the original quite so much. I mean, the original was shit. The sequel is an amazing game, and it's still, you know, people still play Street Fighter 2. The CD-ROM revolution. My first experience or being aware of CD-ROM was my mate had just got a CD player, and Dire Straits had just released their Brothers in Arms album, and I think that was one of the first music albums to get released in CD, and it was the future. It was just, I remember going up to his house to see it, and it just looked, wow, this silver disc. Now there you go, 1980 Dire Straits CDs were the stuff of fantasy. By 1986, Commodore News was describing the stars of CD-ROM show as small silver and about to take over the world. Well, I think it was 1986 when my mate got his CD-ROM. I didn't. Dire Straits Brother in Arms wasn't out in 1980. Definitely not. Unless they had other albums that came out in CD before then. Right, anyway, don't know, but yeah, it's funny how the CD-ROM, yeah, it was massive, it was the future. You couldn't, it was unbreakable. The irony is, I've got albums up in the loft on vinyl that play perfectly, yet I've got CD-ROMs that have got a little scratch in it and they can't play. So go figure. PC Engine, the midget monster. We've several times mentioned the PC Engine in the games machine, and understandably reader curiosity regarding this mystery-shrouded Japanese wonder beast has peaked. Contrary to the impression given by a journalist recently in a certain other well-known multi-user magazine of some vulnerability, very little is known about the machine. Yet what do we know is that manufacturers Japanese NEC have allowed very few software houses to have the machine for assessment. You can't buy a PC Engine in Britain yet, but the games machine can reveal that you will very soon. PC Engine is a wonderful game, wonderful machine. I've got two. I've got one that's called the PC Duo, which is a CD-ROM. Unfortunately, it doesn't work at the moment. But the PC Engine itself, it's just wonderful. I actually prefer the PC Engine over the SNES and the Mega Drive. Yeah, I know that they were probably, certainly SNES was more advanced than the PC Engine, but just, I don't know, the form factor, the games in it, it's amazing. I did have this one here. This was the original little white PC Engine one. I've got the, it's not the Turbo Graphics, it's the PC Engine, but it's the darker kind of grey one. It was like the second one that followed this one. I think it's maybe a bit more reliable, but absolutely amazing games. I mean, you know, look at the screenshots. People were still playing the Spectrum, the Commodore 64, and you were looking at this and thinking, I wish I could get one of these, but you're never going to get one. I mean, as it says up there, you couldn't buy one. I mean, look at the graphics there. That was the arcade. Just absolutely insane. But lucky enough, I've now got one, and it's an amazing machine. What was that? Victory Run. If I remember rightly, I don't think that was a particularly good game. But yeah, PC Engine. If you like your classic computer systems, you've got to get a PC Engine. You can get one for about 30-40 quid. I mean, they're not expensive. Enter the dark side. What is this? And lighten up with home laser show. Your micro deserves the best. When your home or business micro costs several hundreds of pounds. Shouldn't that be several £100? It deserves the finest repair facilities in Europe. Well, probably. Here's that about Frimley and Camberley, Surrey. Wonder if you could still take a computer back then. I have actually got, it's not the very same one, but similar. This one's got a little LCD display, but I've got a Casio keyboard. Android music. Funny, when this magazine was out, Android, it was that's what another word was for a robot. Now the word Android means so much more. You know, it's an Android phone, it's an operating system. I think we all bought a synthesizer in the 80s, and then within a couple of weeks you realise you had no talent whatsoever. You thought that because you bought one you could instantly play it. The one and only bumper pack, great value, 40 great games. What is it? 2 for 1. No, sorry, 2 for only £9.99. What is that? 40 great, 4 great games. I don't know. I have no idea what they're saying there. Is that 40 great games? 2 for only? I don't know. Doesn't even tell you what the games are. Rob Steele's Getting Adventurous. Steel Shavings. Corruption. That was one of these RPGs. Well, it was a text adventure with really pretty looking graphics. What was the name of the company? I can't remember, but the Pawn, they did the Magnetic Scrolls. There we go. I think they were actually owned by British Telecom. Yeah, they made quite a few games. Was it Fish? They had one called Fish. The Pawn. Corruption. There was a couple other ones. Can't remember what they were called. I was never a fan of them. Again, I just didn't have the patience. So yeah, these are various RPG games or text adventures. I think these ones were really. It always amazes me how many adverts these old magazines actually had. Computer repairs, holistic engineering, North Allerton, North Yorkshire. Results of the competitions. Paul Merchant won an Amiga. I wonder if he's still got it. Won an Amiga. Winner receives an Amiga A500 and 1081 colour monitor, and he is Ian Stone of West Midlands. Congratulations, Ian. The mighty Hi-Fi with dual cassette tape, which was a pirate's dream come true. The only thing is, by this point lots of people had moved across to 16-bit. Here we go, we're now getting into the... It's funny how, yeah, going back for a second, looking at this, I mean, back then it was... I mean, look how futuristic the speakers look. I don't think there was any need for these 3 bits. Oh, this bit along the front here, I mean... Nowadays, I mean, I don't even have... The only way I can play music is through my phone or the computer. I don't have a hi-fi anymore. I mean, if I had... I guess if I lived on my own, had the house to myself, I would probably still have something like this. You can't beat 2 big speakers on stands filled with sand. You know, that gave out an awesome sound. Real good bassy sound. But yeah, it's funny how we play music has changed so much. We don't even own music, we just stream it. You know, I mean, I've got Amazon Music and I just stream everything. The reviews, right, I'll just skip right past that because we're going to look at each individual game anyway. Sky's Limit Interceptor. Now that game basically sold the Amiga. I think it was bundled eventually with the Amiga, but I remember seeing that game. I was never a fan of flight simulators, but I saw this game and it just looked and sounded incredible. It was programmed by a guy called Bob Dinnerman. I can still remember that even before I saw it there. It just looked amazing, and the thing that I used to show it off to my mates because you could do a demo where it would take off, and then you could press one of the keys to basically look behind. You would have an outside view looking behind the plane, and then you would see it, the what do you call it, the afterburners engaging, and it was like, wow, look at this. And it was basically the colour yellow flashing, but to me that was the afterburner. It was just amazing, you know, really good. I think it was fairly basic as far as content goes, but it was an impressive looking game. It really was. Right, what's this? Gold Runner, running for gold. Gold Runner was one of the first, or one of the earliest games to appear on the 16-bit machines. I remember seeing it on Atari ST, and it just looked incredible. You know, it had digitized speech, the graphics looked amazing, it was super fast, it had really good scrolling, but it was shit. It was virtually impossible to play, and it was very much, it was a fur coat and no knickers, as they say. It looked amazing, but I didn't like it at all. It was far too hard to play. It was not a good game. Gold Runner 2, I briefly remember seeing that. I don't think it was much better, really. Lego Warriors, what's that? Cyber Knights by CRL. Don't remember that one. Revenge 2. This is the third in Jeff Minter's Camel series and was originally released by MAD for the Commodore 64, where it earned a ZAP Silver Medal. You know what? I did a video recently of Revenge the Mutant Camels, and I don't really remember actually getting to play this. I might have to have a look at that and do a little video on it, I think. What's this? A personal computer show. Wonderful. Now, you know what? I was actually at that computer show. I was at that very computer show. Me and my mate went down to London, and yeah, I remember we got the bus and we arrived at, is it Victoria bus station, I think it was, I can't remember. And yeah, we got to Earl's Court about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we basically just hung about until it opened. I think it was about 9 o'clock when it opened. Yeah, happy days. I loved that. It was amazing. It was, you know what, you can't, I'm not even going to go into any details. I might talk about it in a waffle, but these computer shows were just amazing. They really were. But I've actually still got the badge that I got issued with when I went in. I'll see if I can find it and maybe put a wee link up to the top. Anyway, yeah, computer shows. 24-hour computer repairs. How to get your Spectrum repaired for only $9.95. Look how cluttered that advert is. I mean, there's just so much information there. While you wait service, call for appointment. Right, okay, so you've still got to arrange an appointment, then you can basically turn up and wait. Order now using Access. Is Access even a card anymore? I don't think it is. Turn your Spectrum into a Spectrum Plus for just $24.95. Yeah, you never really see computer repair adverts anymore. Sundog, I remember that game. Oh no, this is a different one. There was a game, yeah, it was called Sundog, but I don't think, is this the one that I remember? It was on the Atari ST, yeah it was. I can't remember much about it. It was some kind of spacey elite type game, I think it might have been. Captain Blood, I remember seeing that running, and again it was like, wow, it had Jean-Michel Jarre music, digitised badly I hasten to add, and it just had the most amazing looking graphics, but the game itself was pretty shit. It really was. I mean, I've got to say, the early 16-bit games weren't very good. You know, they won us over with the graphics. They looked amazing, but when you actually started to play it, you realise just how, you know, I still think the 8-bit games pissed all over the early 16-bit versions. Then obviously once the programmers got to grips with the 16-bit machines and realised that we weren't going to be conned with just nice graphics. They started getting to grips with the software. But what's this one? Excuse me. Earthlight. On the Spectrum, a compelling challenge, if not quite in the Tau Ceti class. Blood Brothers. One of the designers and chief programmers of Blood Brothers is Steve Marsden, who previously wrote the well-received Final Matrix. Again, I don't remember that. The thing is, I had moved over. I had an Atari ST at this point, so I really wasn't up to speed with 8-bit games at all. Return of Jimbo. Infiltrator. I remember that was one of these mega games that came out in the C64. It was on disc, and it was like an incredible game. The graphics were amazing. It had a helicopter bit. It had a bit where you had to kind of infiltrate a sort of base. Really amazing looking. I didn't really like it enough, but I know it got good reviews, but this one doesn't seem to be. What's this? Gameplay and graphics remain virtually indistinguishable from the original, so including it is a little ironic. Without the incredible hardness of the first section of underlying games, limitations become much more apparent and make this a dubious release. That's a good phrase, dubious release. It's dubious. New low price ST. Price increase. Make your bloody mind up, Atari, seriously. Only from Silica, £260, plus VAT's £299. What you need to remember is 99% of people reading this magazine would be paying £299, so to advertise it as £260 is a bit cheeky, I think. Please send me free literature on Atari ST. Jason and the Argonauts. What is this? Is this on the... Ah, this is on the... Ah, right, yeah, Arg. Yeah, that was a rather rubbish kind of Mortal Kombat-y type, fighting-y type game. Yeah. Stir Crazy. Again, this was being touted as, you know, a cartoon, amazing game. But again, yeah, 61%. It looked great. Again, it was just what I was saying earlier. Amazing graphics, but ultimately complete lack of any gameplay. Pardon me. The whole world in his hands. Armageddon Man. Was there not a game similar to that by Ocean? I can't remember. Don't remember that one. Light Wars. Oh, that was is that the Sega? No, is it a shoot 'em up type game for the Mega Drive? I think it is. Yeah, there's Alien Syndrome. Awesome game. The slightly jerky horizontal scrolling is not noticed when you're up to your neck in aliens. Really good game. You've got to play it. I mean, there's a C64 gets 89%, Atari ST gets 92%. Great game. Even now, I mean, I do still play Alien Syndrome from time to time. I mean, I play the arcade one because obviously, why wouldn't you play the arcade one? But great game. The Great Gaina Sisters. This is the game that you can't buy anymore. Basically, it is a rip-off of Super Mario, and it plays just as well. And of course, eventually Nintendo spotted it and went, "Hang on, guys, you can't release that. That's our game." So they basically put out a cease and desist type thing, and the game was subsequently pulled from the shelves. But it didn't stop us pirates getting to play it, and it's an amazing game. It's really good fun. Even now, I was playing it maybe a couple of months ago. Never actually played the C64 one. A lot of people say the Commodore 64 one is better. In fact, well, there you go. The Commodore game features some very nicely stylized graphics and good in-game tunes, making much better use of the machine. This version provides a lot better value for money and even does without the disc access. There you go. The Amiga version has sharper graphics and clearer tunes in the C64, but is little improved, otherwise making the game distinctly unimpressive visually. Addictive gameplay. So yeah, I would probably go for the C64 one, though the Amiga one is excellent because that was one that I played. You're It Laser Tag. 32%. 54 and 53. Avoid at all costs. Soldier of Light. Remember the name, don't remember too much about it. Challenging and addictive, if an original arcade conversion makes excellent use of the Spectrum. Driller. Now my mate Paul, Paulie Moz, is he's an author. He's writing a few books. He was he's very kindly given me a beta version of a book that he's writing, and he was talking about this game for the let's just say PC when he was talking about this on the Commodore 64, saying what an amazing game it was, especially the tune. I've got to say, I never really got into these games. I'm very much arcadey, 5-minute go, anything that requires an investment. I've noticed that there's a pattern as to how I play games. You know, games that require investment, I just don't do it. I think I've got a very, very short span of attention. But yeah, Paul was saying how amazing Driller is on the Commodore 64. Quadroid Finia, I see what they've did there. Don't remember that game. Like I said, I had moved on to the 16-bit games, 16-bit machines at that point. Don't remember that one at all. Every second counts, so that was some dodgy quiz game. If you think, yeah, I mean there was a lot of quiz games back in the 80s, but by God, nothing like what you've got now. I mean, Tea Time TV in the UK is just quiz show after quiz show. Absolutely diabolical. I don't remember anything about that one. Thundercats, I remember getting a pirate copy of that, and again it like, wow, look at the graphics. Oh, it's shit. There's another one. Every single game I'm looking at here is like just exactly what I was saying. It's complete pants. The graphics looked amazingly. Leatherneck, I've got to say, Micro Deal, they put out a lot of games for the Atari ST, and most of them, I hate to say it, I hope Steve Back isn't watching this, but they weren't very good. Graphically wise, they were amazing, but I don't know, I just didn't like them at all. Desolator, don't remember that one at all. A Fist of Iron 2, Gauntlet 2. Is this the? There we go. That's actually a review of it. Yeah, the Gauntlet 2 was an amazing conversion. I mean, there you go, Atari ST 93%. The original the original Gauntlet was out in the Atari ST, and I remember buying it, and it just, my mind was blown as to how good it was. But then I played it, and it was just so slow. And I've tried to get the game to work since then using emulators, and I just can't. It loads up and it just sits on the screen. You get the little treasure thing flashing. Can't get it to work. But yeah, that's an amazing conversion. Gauntlet 2. War Paper Patton. These are all the war sort of strategy type games. I've never a fan of these. Hercules, 44%. 47% in the Commodore 64. No, the Atari ST got marginally better. Never Walk Alone, Football Manager 2. There's Football Manager, just looking at that actually. It was to do 65%. Text is predominant. The match highlight graphics are a little better than average with spot on sound effects. Use of the ST's WIMP environment is kept to a bare minimum with over sensitive mouse control in use. Yeah, I mean I did play it, but it never appealed to me quite as much as the original. The original game is amazing. I mean, I've got it. Kevin has released it on Android and iOS, and it's a fantastic little game. If you like the original Football Manager, then go and check it out. It's not very much money. Definitely worth checking out. Dark Side, I think that was that the sequel to Driller? I think it was. Yeah, there we go, Driller. And what was this on? Is that on the Commodore 64? It's hard to tell. No, that was the Spectrum and Amstrad. Yeah, Amstrad 93. In fact, they both get 93%. They had better processors than the C64, so they were definitely more capable. Monopoly. And when computers came along, they automatically thought we're going to want to play Monopoly. There's nothing more sterile and dull than playing a board game, especially on your own on a computer. The whole point of playing Monopoly is you can tip it up and go in the huff when you're bankrupt, or when you land on your mate's hotel on Mayfair. Bermuda Project. Don't remember that. Mouse control of the main character is frustrating at times, although the scrolling is comparatively good. Karnov. I was watching a video by a YouTuber, and he was talking about the C64 Karnoff, and it's absolutely hilarious. He was just absolutely panning it. He was basically saying how it looks like the Spectrum. What's it here? There, the overall look of the 3 8-bit games is one of extraordinary similarity, as if the program has simply been downloaded from one to another. That's what the guy was saying actually. 44%. I think that's been a bit generous. Coming together, Vixen. I remember, the only thing I can remember about Vixen was the hot bird on the title screen. Not the title screen, on the advert. Sadly, they don't seem to have it in this. I don't remember the game. She appears to be levitating in that screenshot. Platoon, yeah, the Atari ST. Right, okay, so yeah, I didn't even know that came out for the ST. I just remember getting it in the C64. Sons of Liberty, don't remember that one. So Macho Desolator. Arcade hit. Again, you know, when you look at MAME, there's like 3,500 games, so a lot of these games I've never actually heard of. Beyond Ice Palace. Again, it was one I got in the Atari ST, and it was really you automatically thought they were going to be 100 times better than the 8-bit, and it wasn't the best. Rockford, the arcade game. Yeah, Boulder Dash is a great game. They brought out Boulder Dash 2. Did they bring out the construction kit? Then they decided to convert it into an arcade game, and I don't think it was very good. I mean, that's given the Amiga one 76%. Time Stood Still. Sorry, Where Time Stood Still. I think that was only out in the Spectrum, unfortunately. Possibly the Amstrad as well. I don't think it got a release on, on the Commodore 64. Yeah, it was out for the... Pardon me, I've got hiccups. Arcoid, loved the original Arcoid, never really got into the second one. I think there was just too many power-ups. Too many power-ups for my liking. Pack your suitcases, we're off on a whistle-stop tour around the globe to see where the major home computers are most popular. So in Canada, what have they got? They've got the Sega Genesis Master System. The UK, there's too much going on there. Spectrum, ST is popular in Germany apparently. CPC is the third most popular 8-bit micro. What have they got in Japan? Well, the MSX, we knew that. The BBC is doing great guns in Australia. Never realised that. Chile, yeah, so the Amstrad is apparently quite big in Chile. Tour of the Universe, what is this? It's the biggest, most extravagant computer game in the world, up to 45 can play at one time, and it takes you beyond the moon to Jupiter. What on earth is this? The CN Tower into the... But there's more to this needle. They're the usual everyday Tour of the Universe. Is this a game within the... that you can play in this thing? I don't know. Who cares? I remember that. That rings a bell on that advert. Don't remember anything about the game Wizard Wars. Board games. These are still really popular. Still lots of people like to play them. New labels, old labels, new within companies. Is that deliberate? Like the hairdo. The software industry is burgeoning under a wealth of strong product, colourful advertising campaigns and high public awareness. It's helped along by a support group of magazines such as the Games Machine. I can't be bothered reading any of that at all. Inner sites. Target Games reckons to have a new approach to games, strategy games. The Games Machine war expert Robin Hogg tests the boast. Again, I was never a fan of these. I've got one of these joysticks, what was it called, in the loft, Speed King. Apparently it was really good for sensible soccer, but I don't think mine works very well. Yeah, hype's in a name. Naming the game, the name of the... What's it? Naming the game is the name of the game. But as Barnaby Page discovers, a company's naming game can put you in oddly named company. Enduro Racer, an absolutely Diabolical game in the Commodore 64, really was. Quite good in the Spectrum, but C64 wasn't good. The double with faceless footballers. The camcorder revolution. Yeah, if you watch the Friday Waffle that I put out on the 19th of January, you'll see a little bonus extra. Me and a couple of mates hired a video camera back in 1988 and made some comedy shorts, and I've included a couple in the Friday Waffle that goes out on the 19th of January if you want to see it. Yeah, we basically paid £100 to hire this camcorder. That's almost exactly what it looked like. I mean, look at the price of these things, £1,250. Nowadays, you've got your mobile phone. Yeah, mental. From Blade Runner to Robocop, future fiction has a bleak tomorrow in store for us, where the only being to enjoy a car may be the robot that's built it. Never seen Blade Runner. Never ever watched it. I've watched it. I tried to watch it. Got about 20 minutes in, I just got bored. I do think Codaphone or John Woods goes role playing. More role playing nonsense. Atari ST. Let's have a look at prices. Now you can get Outrun for £14.95. Doesn't appear. Arkanoid, see imports. You could import Arkanoid, and the Amiga is excellent. £21.95. Buggy Boy was 15 quid. So I always imagined games were about 30, 40 quid, but they weren't quite as expensive as that. So they might be cheaper in this thing, I'm guessing. Classifieds, there we go, there's people selling an Atari ST-FM. Too much software to list, but worth many hundreds, £480. Basildon. Commodore 64 tape deck, all in perfect condition, plus £300 of original software is new. Value $550, need quick sale, selling for $180. Thing is, you'd probably get more for that bundle now than you did back then. Sega Master System. 48K Spectrum, 28 games, all Crash Smash Competition Pro joystick. Box with all these in excellent condition, worth over £320, yours for only £120. Or nearest offer, ring 01733 5837 after 7 PM, because he gets his tea at 6 o'clock. Yeah, so lots of people, see there, a lot of people selling their STs, obviously back to buying Amiga. And I did the very same. Got the Atari ST, and then once Amiga became affordable, traded it in. But the ST was a great machine, but the Amiga was just a bit better, I think. So yeah, okay. I remember that joystick. What was it called? Euromax Joystar. Mercy Dash. A lot of these magazines, they thought that we wanted to read comics as well. Never really into that at all. Play by mail. Photon Drive, what is this? The games machine Robin Candy gets down to some more electronic dabbling with a brand new Amiga art utility from Micro Illusions. I don't even know what it's called. Photon Paint. They're always really high-tech games, high-tech names to use. Photon Paint. Then we've got, oh, I beg your pardon. Yeah, when the 16-bit games computers came along, all us teens wanted to play strip poker, because you know, now you've got your streaming porn, but back then this was the best we could get. Yes. I always like to see if I recognise any names that we recognise any here. Darryl Salisbury from Knaresborough. Stuart Thomas from Sussex. Jonathan Stevens, nope, don't know him. Augustin Maliv from Spain, no less. Dominic Reed Preston. Gary Daly from London, nope, don't recognise any of these names at all. And we've got Now, let's see if I can answer any of these. What makes a Thor compact disc remarkable? Got no idea. Who said I hate computers as much as I hate peanuts? No idea. Where would you find Drax and Dross? That was going to be Barbarian. Which software houses can you find lurking in A5? I can't bash that. What has Paul Daniels, Bob Holness got in common? Ridiculous. I'm bored already. Arkanoid Revenge of Doe. Coming up next month in Games Machine is CES show, Dragon's Lair, the Laserdisc and Parsec Pixel. We are the champions. International Cry 2, Renegade, Barbarian, Rampage and Super Sprint. That's actually quite a good compilation. So anyway guys, that is it. That is the Games Machine from 1988. It stands up pretty well compared to some of the 80s magazines, sort of the early, or sort of the late 80s magazines that I looked at. That's actually pretty good. It's a lot more interesting than I remember it to be. So yeah, if there is a magazine you want to see me talk about, read and talk about, put your comments below guys, and as usual, thank you very much for watching.